Are we live now, Amanda?
No, I have a error, of course. Oh,
Yeah, it says we're streaming, so.
She's
it says
saying,
preparing. Super.
she's
says
saying
it-
you have
Yeah.
staff send out the info for the call. It's not on the agenda.
It's on our Facebook page, and yes, I can send it to her right now. I'll send it right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are.
All right, we have like 2 more minutes.
So council, we are officially live.
Okay.
Thank you. And I will just take a moment to send out the credentials to the requester, but Mayor Rombutts, it is your meeting to lead when ready.
We will wait until 3 o'clock. We don't have Bill Weber's chimes. He has some nice chimes that start right at 9 o'clock, so we always know right when to start the meeting. Talking to Bev Hand before Point Edward had their meeting, they had a 5-hour budget meeting over Zoom. So if they can do that, we can do this. I can't even imagine 5 hours. But she said it went well and they were able to do it. All right, it is 3 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. Remind everyone to please disclose of any pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. And we'll go right to 3A, which is the minutes of the previous council meeting of March 9th, 2020. How does council want to deal with those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor White. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And since there's no business arising from the previous meetings, we will go to scheduled meetings and events. Is there any questions or comments about any of those?
The Parks and Rec meeting, is that going on the 29th as a Zoom?
We are currently working with our new Parks and Rec manager to determine that. And we will be in touch very soon to confirm one way or the other. We're hoping to proceed.
Okay.
I think it's best not to put things off if you can, just get her done. This format does seem to work well, so. Okay. Everyone sees, of course, that the Lambton County Rural Game Protective Association annual banquet has been canceled, which is no surprise. And we will go on to 6 councilors' commitments and dates. I don't think too many of us have too many commitments. Does anybody have anything to add to that list?
July 18th to 24th, if I can get out of here. And June too, but I don't know what dates.
Well, you can always let staff know and they can
Yeah.
keep that list updated. Hopefully you will be able to get out of here and get up to the cottage or wherever it is you need to go, but we will see. Time will tell.
Amanda, have you heard anything from AMO regarding the conference, or are they just waiting to see?
We have not heard anything yet.
Actually, there was an email that came out last week. It's still being planned.
Oh, good.
Thanks.
Okay.
We will hope that by that time we are able to get out and get moving around again. So hopefully that won't be an issue. So we are going to go to councillor items. I'm going to start with Councillor Westgate. Do you have anything?
I don't believe I have anything, really.
Okay. Councillor White,
Nope, nothing.
nothing. Councillor Morris.
Back-
Oh,
That fence is down up by where they took the hotel down again. They should put some weights or something on the inside. It was all over this morning along Front Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I contacted Frank from Castell and let him know.
Oh, did you?
Yep. Yeah, I got an
Good.
email this morning and let him know immediately.
Great. Councillor Morris.
Couple little things. I wanted to put a thank you out there to all the families and people. I've seen them a lot. They're walking the side roads and the concessions, picking up garbage. Like, thank you.
That's great.
The other thing, and I don't know, I guess it'd be maybe a waste management issue. Is it possible to get a bench put on the trail about halfway? There's a tree about halfway. I'm just wondering if maybe a bench would be good so people could take a break.
I can speak to that, Councillor Morris, so that the trail and the design and expansion for the trail is governed by the WM End Use Committee, which has 2 council representatives on it. And we can certainly add that to the agenda for future discussions.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's a great
I think-
idea. Oh,
I think that's been talked about already, has it not? At end use committee or at the trail? I think we talked about a bench there.
I don't recall that, Councillor Westgate, but I can certainly look back through our minutes and submit the request and follow up,
Okay.
definitely.
okay, and Councillor Mitchell.
No, nothing for me.
Great. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of our staff, the Optimist, the Rotary, both Watford and Warwick Firemen's Association for all of their help during the maple syrup, homestyle maple syrup festival. It went over really well, and it, I think brought a smile to a lot of people in Warwick Township. So and staff were fantastic at helping get it organized, and our fire chief, Rick Sitlington, was right on the ball, making sure that everybody knew exactly which routes they were doing. And it went over so well. I was very impressed with everybody. So thank you all for all of your participation in that. And aside from, I have had some conversations with higher up with Monty McNaughton and Leanne Rude on a regular basis, just on the COVID-19 and what they're just touching base with the municipalities to see how things are going. So it's really grateful to them for reaching out. And that's all I have for today. We'll go on to 7A, staff items. A verbal notice from Amanda Gubbles on request from the Lambton Kent District School Board for use of the Centennial Hall. Oh, Amanda, you're muted. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor Runbounds. So this was an addendum to the agenda. So again, Council, thank you for permitting discussion on an addendum item. It was just added today, and the online agenda was updated as well. Late on Friday, I did receive a request from a member of staff at the local elementary school who's looking to continue delivery of the school's breakfast program using the Centennial Hall location. The process that they've proposed is one member of the school staff along with one of their family members, so a total of 2 people, would utilize Centennial Hall for a few hours every week. This is just a trial to start with, so they're planning to start running the program for 1 to 2 weeks. They would, between the 2 people, prepare boxes and deliver them to the recipient list. That's usually part of the school program. There would not be anyone else involved in delivery, no other entering of the Centennial Hall aside from these 2 people. Should council wish, so there's a few things to consider in this request. One is that the hall is closed and mandated to be closed by legislation. So there is an order on that. This request could be granted by council, but there would be some risk involved. I have spoken to the potential organizer, and I don't believe they'll be able to provide a certificate of insurance as was initially outlined, because they're acting more independently instead of on behalf of the actual school board. There would be some coordination of items that we'd have to deal with, like cleaning, ensure that they receive our self-assessment protocol, and we could kind of provide them some direction. So we have received this request, and they're asking A, for use of the hall, and B, for the consideration of waived fees. This use typically in the normal world would qualify, I would think, as a recreational use. We would typically give them that rate, which would be $25 per use. Mhm. And I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns about this.
Councillor Westgate.
I think this is something like a food bank. I don't think we should be charging for the hall for this to use.
I agree.
Councillor White.
Are we legally able to do it? One, like, it is an emergency order out there. And are we, if we allow this to happen, or could we get charged by the province for breaking an emergency order? And two, what are our liabilities? Like, if this starts spreading COVID to all the 140 families out there through delivery, are we liable for that?
Great question. And the answer at this time is, I'm not completely sure. We have sent an email inquiring to our insurer to specifically ask that question about risk and liability. But we have not heard back yet. And in terms of the emergency order, the order does specify that the halls be closed for regular public use. And we could certainly make an inquiry to the province or Lambton Public Health on council's direction to seek some guidance on the application of that order to this request. And I would suggest that if council is considering approval, that there might be a number of steps that we would need to do in follow-up, which would be ensuring insurance and answering that liability question, Councillor White, about actually following the order and charged, and among other things. We have had some staff brainstorming sessions, and Teresa's come up with some good questions as well that I think we would need to ensure are answered prior to issuing blanket approval.
Councillor White.
Could we get something back in writing, either from the province or the health unit, that it is acceptable before we even proceed?
We can make that request.
I think we are running on a time factor here. I know there was another group that was interested in doing this, that were quite concerned about the fact that there was a shortage now with children not being able to access that breakfast program. And their leader has since been hospitalized, so he hasn't been able to follow through on that. So it's a community interest problem as well. I would suggest that we, and I don't want to lead from the chair, but if we could approve it based on approvals from the province, based on insurance, whatever concerns that we might have. I think this being an emergency situation, there's certain things that can maybe work in our favor to make this happen. Councillor Morris, did you have something?
I'd like to make it a motion to go ahead and do it at zero cost, providing we can get all the approvals. And it would be really, no, not part of the motion, but it would be really nice if they contacted the other school and had one day of doing this to cover both the separate and the elementary public schools.
I'm not sure. I know the other school does not currently have a breakfast program in place. So whether or not they can contact the other school and find out if there are some families in need that are from that school, I'm not sure how they do that with confidentiality and all of that stuff. I know that was one of the concerns that we had right from the start. But you could even set it up that if there were families in need, that they could possibly request a box or something. Just an update from the food bank. I did reach out to Marianne Kundick last week, who's one of our head volunteers for the Watford Food Bank, and she said that they haven't had a huge increase in demand so far, just so council's aware.
So
But I do move it.
I think there's a motion on the floor. Councillor Morris, may I test this motion with you to read that Warwick Township Council provide approval for the free use of Centennial Hall for delivery of a breakfast program in Watford, provided that approvals are first obtained from Lambton Public Health, the Province of Ontario, the Municipal Insurance Company, and that all requirements from an operations perspective are addressed through our Parks and Recreation manager and myself.
The participants would be covered under WSIB through our policy, would they not, with the emergency volunteer clause, because we're under a state of emergency?
No, I don't believe so, because it's not a municipal program.
Okay.
So if they were delivering a service or program on behalf of the municipality, we were directly overseeing them and training and screening and doing everything, then potentially yes.
Okay.
But given the independent nature, no, my understanding is that it would not apply, nor would our volunteer insurance through Frank Cowan.
Okay. Okay, so Todd, Councillor White, you seconded that?
I'll second the motion as written.
Okay. And you're happy with that, Councillor Morris, the way it was
Very
written?
much so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about that motion?
I
Seeing none-
will keep council updated as that investigation process proceeds through.
Okay, great. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, council. We have no delegations or timed events, so we'll go on to non-action correspondence. There's quite a long list of non-action correspondence here. Does anyone want to highlight or ask any questions about the non-action? Councillor Morris?
4-20, the Minister of Energy. Have we heard any more regarding gas line to Work Village?
Yes, so we had tentatively had on this agenda an invitation to Enbridge to attend to provide us an update. Given the timing, they were just unable to attend this meeting, so they are planning to attend our next meeting in May as a delegation. But they did reaffirm to me via email that they've received no information on any delays about the provincial program, that they still plan to submit the Warwick Village program for approval, and that they'll be back in touch with us to provide us an update in May.
That's a great question. Thank you, Councillor
I
Morris.
got one more, and that is 4-26, which is a scholarship for kids going into engineering. Does the high school in Forest and the high school in Petrolia get this information, I wonder?
The way I read that scholarship was that it's for municipal employees' children.
Oh,
So-
sorry.
Nope, that's okay. So I believe that it would be sent around to any municipal employees that
Okay.
had children of that age, but I don't know how many of us have ones. Any other questions or comments about the non-action? Seeing none, we need a motion to receive and file the remainder. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Morris, all in favor. And that's carried. And we'll go to the action correspondence. There's a couple of resolutions. Does any of those stand out to anybody? There was one 4-78, the Watford Scouts. I read that and I was excited to hear that they wanted to do the geocaching. I think it's a great idea. I'm not sure right now, like if that's an appropriate thing, but we could potentially give them approval to do that. Amanda, sorry.
Just to note that this property is actually owned by Waste Management. So although we do partner with them on the trails, council could certainly recommend working with Waste Management or direct a staff member to reach out to them to assist with coordination and make a request. But as we don't own the property, I don't think we can officially approve the request, but we could act as a liaison.
Do we need a motion to that, or?
I think we would need a motion or a staff direction, something to you could certainly direct myself to work with the WM and Use Committee and Waste Management directly to pass on this request and encourage their approval.
Okay. Do we want to just do that as a staff direction then, or do we need an official motion?
Staff direction should be fine.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, we will go with that then, if staff's comfortable with that. Councillor Westgate.
On 0477, I think we should support that too.
Okay,
With the Conservation Authority, we're having all kinds of problems with wetlands and mapping, and I know it's all being remapped again, but with our drains, and I think this would give the farmers a little more say.
Okay.
Before it's designated a wet area.
good to know. So that's moved by Councillor Westgate. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of supporting that? That's carried. Thank you. Anything else, Council, for the action correspondence? Seeing none, we need a motion to, oh, sorry, Councillor Morris.
Make a motion to receive and file the remainder.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Mitchell, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, we're gonna go right on to 11A, staff reports, which is the current municipal service levels of COVID-19 and the impacts. That report was fantastic, Amanda. It was very well written. I found it was a great update on what all we've been up to since this whole thing started. Very appreciated. Any questions or comments on that report?
Just a kudos to everybody involved. I mean, responding to an emergency of this magnitude, we've really shown and set a good positive precedent, I feel. So I appreciate all of the work that Amanda and you, Mayor Roundabouts, have put in.
Thank you.
Amazing. This
Yeah.
committee has been killer.
Very
Our
good.
staff has just blown my mind through this. It's not been an easy road to move down and totally unprecedented. So, Councillor Morris.
Yeah, this is for Andrew, I guess. Andrew, I've been asked, what's going on with municipal drains right now? Are they all kind of on hold, delayed with Ernie Hardeman opening up agriculture construction? Are they starting again?
So they're case by case. We're not doing any on-site meetings. So under the Drainage Act, you have to hold an on-site meeting, which gives everybody an opportunity to let them know what issues they have. So you can identify the area requiring drainage. So those are not taking place because, you could have a lot of people on site. So we're not doing that. As far as construction, it's kind of going drain by drain. If there's not a whole ton of landowners and they can still construct it safely, we are proceeding ahead with construction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or, oh, Amanda, would you like to highlight something?
I would. I just have one note about the garbage and recycling update. There's actually been a potential update since the time of publishing this report. That's how things are going these days. The Twin Creeks landfill had provided notice that their residential drop-off on Saturdays would be closed for an indefinite period. We did receive some feedback online and by email to our municipal address, and I did share it with Twin Creeks landfill, and they are currently considering some other alternatives. So not necessarily opening back up on Saturdays, but looking at extending hours late, one evening a week. So we are working with them and we will complete public notice on their behalf to help get the word out when we've made an alternate arrangement, just so everyone knows.
Okay. I did wonder about the date of the alternate pickup date for the SCRCA tree program. I did have a question from the public about that. Do we have a date set, or are we
So-
looking at still doing it this year?
Yep, we have, I can speak to that.
Yes, please.
Oh, we have a date. It's this Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we have notified all the people that have purchased trees, as well as put it on the website and Facebook. It's this Thursday. They're dropped off at 10 a.m., open for landowner pickup at 1 to 4 p.m. Thursday
Perfect.
only. So, and we're gonna set it up so it's curbside pickup. They don't get out of their vehicle. We'll place the tree in their vehicle and off they go.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that update. Councillor White.
I actually experienced one from a Sawbo Bayfield last Saturday, just on Saturday. We picked up some trees. They would only put into vehicles that were pickup trucks. If you brought another vehicle like a van or whatever, they would pull the trees out and then have you put them in your own vehicle that way. So
That's a good idea.
Great. Good.
Thanks,
Good
Mayor Rumbout.
piece of advice.
Also, I see I missed that date in the report. So
Nope,
thank you.
that's okay. Just good to highlight it anyway for those that were unaware.
I got a phone call from Maddie. She said she was gonna call everybody. She had 40 some odd calls to make, so
Okay,
good work
Great.
on her part.
great. Great. Any other questions or comments on that report? Seeing none, we do need a motion to receive and file it as information. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? And that's carried. We will move on to the CAO quarterly report. Again, another fantastic report. And I was shocked at how much we've gotten done in the first quarter. Extremely productive first quarter, especially given the fact that we've had the COVID-19 issues that we've been dealing with. So kudos to staff once again. Is there anything that you would like to highlight from that report, Amanda?
No, I think even given the COVID-19 situation, I think we're on track for meeting our annual targets. Our capital budget projects are underway or in design and processes are being worked out. So no, I think all
Okay.
good.
Any questions from council? Councillor Morris.
The last one, I guess it's Roman numerals D, the SLEP municipal documents. I went through them. They got our population at 4561. Is that correct? I thought we were down at 3,600.
That's a great question, Councillor Morris.
I noticed
believe-
that too. I was
I
like,
believe they pulled it from an updated census, but we will certainly double check that number and ensure it's accurate.
The other thing is they got us down as putting a dual pad ice surface
Also
On
an
our new-
error. We will
on our new
correct that.
hall.
Thanks, Councillor Morris. I think it just takes someone who's been apart from the project to catch these little items. We will
I missed that one.
make sure to have those things addressed. And if anyone else has any other comments, we'd be happy to do a further review. Thank you.
And the ball diamonds, they've got down a ball diamond, like we have numerous ones. Just have a glance at how it's written, Amanda. Please,
I will do, absolutely. Thank you.
that's all I have.
And where will that be posted, Amanda? Is that on their website or?
So SLEP completed this as part of I believe a special project. They did it for all of their municipalities, all the municipalities in Lambton. And they will certainly have it on their website and use it when they have interested developers, but also we will use it as part of the package that we give to people who come to Warwick to develop or have questions or have inquiries on our area. And I think we'll also link it on our website as well.
Okay.
Just another tool in our toolbox, so to speak.
One thing that stood out to me was the development charges study. That we haven't gone to RFP for that yet.
No.
For the study?
So nope, the tentative timeline though is to actually publish tomorrow based on our timeline. So this study was approved in our budget for the year. And we did do some consultation with other municipalities, including the county, about, you know, if they're still issuing study RFPs, and everyone's still moving forward with all RFPs. A few have been extended, but at the end they've seen that it wasn't necessary. Consultants and everyone still seem to be responding to RFPs in their usual manner.
I'm just wondering, with all of the fallout from COVID-19, and we don't really know what the financial repercussions of all of this social isolation will be, if now is the right time to be doing a study like that, but it's up to council.
So if we do a study, council can always have that in their back pocket. It doesn't necessarily mean that they need to apply the recommendations immediately. My understanding from these studies is that they take quite some time to undertake, and it would be kind of another tool in the toolbox. It's also in the strategic plan
Right.
for supporting continued development and supporting our infrastructure costs.
Mhm.
From an operational perspective, I would suggest that moving forward and then seeing how the results come out, they won't come out for quite some time. So it would be kind of, you can then decide at that time. I don't know, Trevor, if you have any, Trevor oversees the study actually and wrote the
Right.
RFP, so he may have some comments.
He's on mute right
He's
now.
on mute. Well, I guess he has no comments, so we'll proceed.
Councillor White, did you want to comment on that?
I think we should move forward with it, as Amanda said, to have it in the toolbox. It's a great time. It does support someone in a position for them to make some money doing this at this point too.
Right.
And then we have it when things open up again. So
Great. Okay. So any other questions about that report? Seeing none, we do need a motion to receive and file that as information. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Westgate, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. We have the report on council staff relations policy, and I believe this is more just kind of housekeeping, is it not, Amanda?
Yes. Heather prepared this report for us. I'm not sure if she wants to speak to it. She's also on mute. But
She's also on mute.
she's also on mute. But yes, this is just a procedural policy. We actually were intended to have this in place at the same time as we approved our integrity commissioner. So it was last March. And it was just something that we missed.
No problem.
But nothing here that isn't already in the council code of conduct or already in practice. So it's just kind of cleaning it up and checking that compliance box.
Okay.
I'll move.
Councillor White.
I'll move.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Any other questions or comments about that report? Seeing none, we will call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Proposed term of reference for pay standard study. There's a recommendation attached to that. It looks like that study is going to come in under budget, which is always a good thing. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Morris.
I do have a few questions. Is this really necessary? Like, is this something we need to do? And when was the last time it was done?
Great question. So we did one in 2017, so 3 years ago. And the service delivery review did have some recommendations around this report, and I think that's why it's bubbled up already and put in our 2020 budget, is that an initial comparative analysis that our consultant did as part of the service delivery review did suggest that, yes, the study was timely for now to ensure staff retention and, I guess, market comparisons.
Well, I looked at the numbers that the company put forward, and unless I'm reading it wrong, they're going to put in 7 hours and charge us $8,400.
So you're speaking to her proposal?
Yes. Market survey, salary survey. Colette's, Caitlin's, and Brian's hours. Like, it seems ridiculously priced if that's all the hours they're putting in.
Yes. So, Councillor Morris, as you know, pay equity and market comparisons is quite a niche industry. So it is rather expensive to do the study. However, it's not. I don't think the total price is expensive. It's the hours that they put in. I have worked with this consultant before. She helped us put in place our actual pay equity plan when we didn't have one, and also our initial market study. And based on my experience with her, I don't believe that number of hours is actually representative. She's always available to answer questions of myself and our staff. So while the per diem rate is high at $1,900, the total cost is less than 50% of the amount we budgeted for this study.
I just like to see that $9,000 go to our employees instead of a study.
Unfortunately, changes to wage scales are hard to do without having the appropriate research behind them. And certainly, I think we do need an expert opinion to be able to do that. I'm certainly not personally able to provide that service to Warwick. I think we need a professional.
Any other comments from council? Councillor White.
I agree with Amanda that you do need that backup so that you can prove where you got how you determined your levels. Like, and I know the organizations I've worked with, they've always used a consultant to do that, someone independent. So yeah.
Okay. So are you making a motion?
I'll move it.
Councillor White? Thank you. Councillor Mitchell, did you have a comment?
Yep, I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We'll go to the official plan amendment regarding surplus dwelling severance policies, and staff is looking for council direction on that. Phil, would you like to kind of go over your report here? Oh, Phil's muted, Amanda.
Wondering why nobody was talking. I couldn't hear. What? Am I on or am I
Yeah,
muted?
we're good. We can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the proposal to the official plan amendment regarding surplus firms severance policies. So in terms of a bit of a background, it was first approached back in April of 2019, and the open house included roundtable discussions to obtain a general consensus as to what should be permitted. And then there's second open house in July of 2019, looking at available options under the provincial policy statements, the surplus firms, severance policies of adjacent municipalities, and possible effects about the implementation of policies and what they might have on existing large-scale operations. So in terms of proposals, we do have them listed there. So you will allow one, like a surplus firm dwelling to come out. So the surplus firm dwelling is an existing habitable firm residence that is rendered surplus as a result of firm consolidation. So which is the acquisition of two or more firm parcels consolidated into one. So that's how you'd get it. The other policies also include that the balance, so the firm itself, not the residence, the firm gets rezoned to the agricultural zone, which prohibits a further residence to occur. We do have that one, it's an AG&D zone, I believe, which is, yeah, or an R zone. So it's a residential zoning, but does not allow a dwelling unit. In terms of sizes, the retained firm shall generally be a minimum of 38 hectares and 94 acres, while the severed lot size should not exceed 0.8 hectares and 2 acres, or what is necessary for the septic system. So it might fluctuate a little bit if you need a little extra for your field system. There was discussion on age of the house as to whether or not some municipalities stated if it's built after or prior to 1971 or prior to 2000. What we're recommending is a 20-year time period. So the house has to be at least on site for 20 years before you can sever it out. This is prevent someone from buying a farm, putting a house on there, and then saying, oh, I don't need the house anymore, and then severing it out. So it has to be an established firm residence.
Sorry to interrupt, but if, let's say, there's a house that's 10 years old, but that's been a residential place for a number of years before that, would that be an exception? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's already been a residential area, but the house might have burned down or
that could be taken into consideration. Typically, we're basing, in terms of what we're going to use is how to determine the age of the house. We're going to use MPAC, because typically MPAC assesses, oh, this house was built in 1970, or it might be it was an addition on there in 99 and so forth. So they typically keep track of the age of the house. That in terms of something that's burned down and replaced, it'd be a factor that the committee can take into it. It's like, oh, there's a house there built in the 50s, it burned down 10 years ago, got replaced. So that'd be on a case-by-case basis, we could deal with that. I don't think there'd be a whole lot of them, but.
So even with this amendment, each case will be brought to the committee for examination then, Philip?
Yes, yeah. So if it's 20 years or more, it's going to be like if it meets all the criteria, it's going to get approval a lot simpler than if it's a 10-year-old house, and then you need to prove there was a house there at one point, something happened to it. So.
Thank you.
So in terms of these policies, we did look at what other municipalities in the area are doing. And we followed, I believe this one's based off of St. Clair in particular, where they had the rolling 20-year time frame on the house. This also amends a number of sections just to reduce the minimum farm size from 40 hectares to 38 hectares. This is to reflect a change in the Lambton County official plan that actually just got its local planning approval decision was made in February of this year. So there was an appeal. So when the county official plan was adopted last year, there was a couple of appeals on it. And one of them in particular was the minimum parcel size for farm. Wasn't necessarily an appeal in our area. I think it was Plymouth, Wyoming area, but it pretty much put a freeze on the whole county. So they're looking at it. So the tribunal decision said in Warwick Township, it's 38 hectares minimum. So some of the municipalities, it's as low as 30. But in terms of the next step, normally the next step would be to have a public meeting as part of adoption of bylaw, the amending bylaw. What gets complicated is how to have that public meeting. What some places are doing is they're doing electronic public meetings, but that be there is some direction we did get from the ministry on that. I'll just read it out. So on April 14th, the province passed Ontario Regulation 149-20, which provided further direction and clarification on the planning review process. Given that statutory limitations are suspended at the moment, municipality may choose to wait to process new applications until the COVID-19 emergency ends. Municipality may additionally wish to conduct electronic public meetings, open houses, etc., and are able to do so and can make decisions on those matters and issue notices. So I think in terms of if the townships wanted to have the public meetings, I think we may need to make some changes to procedural bylaw to allow that. I'm not aware of whether or not the current bylaws allow that to occur. So I think there may need to be some changes if you guys want to have public meetings. So this doesn't necessarily just affect this official plan, it also affects a couple of the other committees too. Because I know minor variance applications are on hold and there are a couple of others on hold. So.
What are council's thoughts on that, Councillor Morris?
We have to have another public meeting, you're saying, Philip?
Yes, we've had the open houses. So the way the Planning Act mandates is you have to have at least one open house and one public meeting. Public meeting is a standard in council public meeting. So it'd be similar, let's say it's rezoning, you have a public meeting for that.
I was at both public meetings and I would not like to participate in an electronic one.
I was at one of them and I agree with Councillor Morris, but would it be the same format, Philip, or how would it be conducted?
It'd be a more formal process. So it'd be very similar to, okay, let's say it's rezoning application. We have a public meeting on that. So it'd be a public meeting, but in council or in a
Similar
council
to-
setting.
So similar to the drainage ones where we go through the procedures and,
Yes, yeah, it has to be a formalized public meeting within that same format. So you'd have a like a regular council meeting, and you'd be, okay, we're going to have a public meeting on this official plan amendment. So you go out to council into that meeting, go through the formal process, hear from both sides. Do you support it? Do you not support it? And then make a decision. So it's at that decision, it's pretty much requires a decision being made by council. So
okay. Amanda, I'd like to hear from staff's perspective on how that would work.
So,
That's electronic.
yeah, thanks, Mayor Roberts. As Phil outlined, I think he's right. So an electronic public meeting could be accommodated, certainly in this format. The differences would be from what we see in the screen now, would be we'd have to share our login credentials publicly. So anybody could access the meeting, which is okay, but it means that anyone could access the meeting and could speak. Like I don't believe, and now I could investigate, but that there's separate technology within this platform that allows for me to continually mute all attendees. So there could be disruptions if people didn't follow kind of the process that's set out. Now, as Phil outlined, there is a process, much like a zoning meeting or a drainage meeting where there's, set time for reading the application, comments from the app, or in this case, not the application, but the policy, and then comments from the public and council. As the mayor, Jackie, you would kind of mediate that process, but the credentials would be available publicly to the whole council meeting then. And public notice becomes a bit more challenging. It's online, and we could put it in the newspaper as well, but only people who receive the one edition of the local newspaper that's currently in circulation and or on our website and social media would receive notice. So there's that. And then there's also the question of just general accessibility. So by limiting a public meeting only to be in an electronic format, are you then excluding some people? So we can do it from a technology perspective. Absolutely, there are some challenges, but I think we could overcome them. I think the question goes back to council as to whether this is your priority for right now, whether you feel you want to move forward with it, given those parameters and challenges, or if you'd like to wait. The one thing is there is a 20-day notice period. So 20 days is quite some time. I mean, we wouldn't be able, even if council chose to get the notice out tomorrow or anything, like we'd probably be looking at a little bit more time, say closer to 30 days before the actual meeting. So there is that. Maybe the world will change by then, but so I guess those are my comments. I don't know if that helps.
Yes. Councillor Morris?
I'm still gonna go with, I'd rather have it a true public meeting. Is it possible to put forward a motion to accept this and have the public meeting when COVID-19 is over?
It's a good question.
I think procedurally, yes. So to your point, Councillor Morris, that would be just an approval of the draft policy and to go to a public meeting for comment and direction that staff proceed with scheduling a meeting at a future date when it's safe to do so. And we could touch in with council, say at every regular council meeting to determine if they're comfortable to schedule it for the next meeting, kind of thing.
I'm seeing nods. Councillor Westgate, did you have a comment?
First of all, I think we should have a public meeting on this. And we've gone for a long time without it already. I think another month wouldn't hurt. But the way this is set up, we're not really gaining any new houses. We might save one or two. I'm wondering if there's any way, like on the piece of land that's left, they can't build a house on it. If there was a change of ownership or at a certain time, I think they should be able to build a house on that, because if Wayne sold that farm and he made the agreement that the house was off and his son wants to buy that farm and build a house on it, he can't. If we had that in the agreement, if it's possible, that would put another house in the country on 90 acres of land, 98 acres of land.
Is that possible with provincial regulations? Because I agree with Councillor Westgate, but
And it's the same with the age of the house. If there's a change of address or change of ownership, I think we should be able to build a house on that. I don't know whether that's possible or not.
Philip, do you have an answer to that?
It would, if we go the way, like with that one condition that says you have to rezone it to the agricultural zone that doesn't allow, it's non-dwelling zone. So if you make that, if you take out that requirement and just leave it in the current agricultural zone, you could theoretically get an additional house on there. So we added that policy in based on pretty much we reviewed other municipalities as to that direction. But the question is, do we want additional residences outside the two urban areas? Or do we want to keep them, like, do we want to separate the rural residents, keep them down, and then keep it agricultural and have people move to the two urban areas?
That's not a priority for me. I don't know about the rest of council. Councillor Morris.
I would like to see that if it's possible, because I agree with Councillor Westgate. The 10 years from now, when the farm has changed hands again, we're tying the hands, and we need our population to increase. I have no problem if that was taken out.
Can we make an amendment to that then? Councillor Westgate.
I do have a problem taking it out altogether, because somebody could subdivide a house off and then build a house right away. And I don't agree with that.
Well, each of these cases will come to the Committee of Adjustment, will they not? Like, they'll be dealt with on a case-by-case basis that the committee can look at each circumstance and make that decision.
But the committee needs rules to go by. They shouldn't be making up rules as you go along.
Right,
Because it's
right.
hard to do it for one and not do it for the next.
Good point.
I'm just saying that when you change ownership on that land, then you could build a house on it. And if we can't do that, then I think we're going to cause ourselves more problems.
Okay. Councillor Morris.
I would like to proceed with this motion. I would love that to come out, but I think I have read Enniskillen was going to try it and then they didn't. I think that's something for further in the future to maybe decide on needs and rules set out by the province.
I don't know if Philip could look into it or if he knows whether we could put that in with the change of ownership.
We can can we table this for now, Amanda, and have those questions answered? So that it's exactly what council is looking for?
Based on the direction, well, we'll have Phil comment, but I think council could provide direction to our planner to do some investigation and come back with a revised policy draft based on the parameters. And then you would revisit the discussion on a future public meeting based on a new policy. But I don't know, Phil, if you are okay with that, would be comfortable with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
any
think you
questions?
summed it up good. Like if that's the direction council wants to go, I can do some research and get back.
That would
to
be
council
great.
on that, so.
Councillor Morris.
I would agree with that. I would like this done once and done right. As
Yes.
Councillor Westgate mentioned, the Committee of Adjustment gets their hands tied if they don't have a rule. And I think we need to do it right.
Yeah, I agree. So is staff comfortable with just doing that as a staff direction then?
I think so. Phil, are you clear on the parameters of the future investigation and report back for this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so yes, we can do that as a staff direction for our planner to investigate further and report back at our next meeting in May.
And I think all of council agrees that we want to make sure that it is an open public meeting. I think we have residents within our township that are concerned about this issue, but maybe don't have the technology base to be able to participate in a meeting like this. And I think it would be better to have it as a public meeting. So, okay, so we will move on then to F, which is the Warwick Industrial Park SWMP improvements. There is a recommendation there. However, Andrew, did you want to speak to that report at all?
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty simple. The existing stormwater pond that you really wouldn't know was even there, because it's all grown in, which that was the design. It's a dry pond. So essentially, because we're developing more land in that area, it needs to be expanded. So when it was first created, that was phase 1, and it accommodated the road, Chariot Street, as well as the first expansion, which is chute and excavating. The new development that's going on requires that to be expanded, and downstream needs to be improved, so we don't flood them out. And because we don't own the land, that has to be done under the Drainage Act. So
Okay.
that's the gist of the report.
Councillor Westgate.
Andrew, do we pay for all that, or will some of it be charged to the landowners?
We will
Especially,
pay.
say, the ready mix plant.
We will pay for this. It's the township that is petitioning for it. So if there's improvements downstream that landowners utilize, the engineer will determine who pays what. But it typically is a user pay system. The pond itself will be the expense of the township, though.
Okay. Councillor White.
That come back through development fees in the future?
I would say yes.
Thank you.
Question? Any other questions from council? All right, there is a recommendation there. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Morris. Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. All right, so we are on to committees and other minutes. We have the minutes of the special council meeting of April 2nd. How does council want to deal with those minutes? I'm reading Todd's lips, and Councillor White wants to move those, and Councillor Westgate, do you want to second them?
Yes,
Okay, any questions or comments about those minutes? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. So we are going to go into a closed meeting session. I'll just allow the public to note that we will be coming back into open, but we will not be recording it on YouTube, as it's just going to be to end the meeting. So I appreciate all of the many viewers that we must be getting on YouTube for this meeting, this stimulating meeting of council. So we are going to take a moment or two. We will get a motion to move in camera for the items listed on the agenda. That's moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That's carried. And we are going to move into in camera. We thank everyone for watching. Have a good day.